The Rainbow Six Siege beta dropped a few days back and is currently available to many gamers. I got mine in a humble bundle, which means that I didn't have to pre-order the game because, as we already know, pre-ordering is retarded, especially if it's for a beta when they all inevitably are opened up to the public. But at this stage, if you still pre-order games, nothing I can say will ever change your mind on the subject. Due to real-life responsibilities, I've only been able to put an hour or two into the beta, but during that time, I definitely enjoyed it to some extent, although I was far from blown away. This is really unfortunate because I had somewhat high expectations of this game, and I know I'm not alone. It's been a long time since the last Rainbow Six, and the original showing for this game at E3 2014 was fantastic, excluding the shitty fake scripted dialogue. I have a few biting concerns about the game's longevity. It's multiplayer only, just like Evolve and Titanfall. And like those games, the gameplay is seemingly too narrow and focused on one particular experience to offer a diverse enough range of experiences to prevent matches from getting old and blurring together. And having no campaign only adds salt to the wound, although it's not as insulting as Black Ops 3 having no single player on the PS3 and 360. Activision. The two game modes in the beta are virtually identical, and there aren't really enough differences in the structure of the maps to make them distinct. They look different, but design-wise they're very similar. Large open spaces surrounding a 3 to 4 story building with the same fortify or find the objective structure at the beginning of each round. With all this in mind, I found relative enjoyment out of what was in the beta. However, my sentiment seems to be very unpopular because based on the reactions I've seen, people absolutely hate this game right now. I've seen video after video, tweet after tweet, and post after post from people declaring that they're not going to buy the game and that the game sucks and will be dead on arrival. It's a typical gamer reaction if you ask me. Knee-jerk responses and poorly articulated opinions that are just too extreme instead of reasonable. To a lot of people, a game is either amazing or terrible. Ask any gamer about a game and it's either amazing or quote-unquote trash. To be frank, I think some of the criticism is very unfair. Criticizing the overall game because of the crashes and menu bugs. I was stuck waiting to find a match for about 15 minutes. It was annoying, but I didn't pay any money to play the beta, so complaining would actually make me entitled as hell. And I'm one of the last people who would call gamers entitled when we get screwed so regularly. If these problems persist into the launch, then we have a problem, but not during a beta. Calm down. Aside from that, I do understand a lot of the complaints. There is a lot of waiting and not doing anything in the game. Hit detection is wonky as hell. I've been killed by one shot with a pistol when using an AUG took me 3 to 4 shots. And of course, the aforementioned issues with the longevity and map design are fairly substantial. Oh, and host migrations? On a PC game? Really? This is not what intrigues me though. What's more interesting is how the beta has probably served the opposite purpose Ubisoft intended. Increasingly, betas are becoming more akin to demos. By this, I mean that they don't align with the definition of a beta, which is a player test for the purposes of making adjustments, tweaks, or major changes to the game. If you want to apply that definition loosely, then I suppose this is a beta, but I doubt they'll be making any substantial changes to the game, or at least ones you'd immediately notice upon playing the final game without being told they were changed. There are two reasons why most betas as of right now are just demos. They either appear way too close to launch for any significant changes to be made, or the period that the beta is playable is so short that gamers won't be able to properly pinpoint gameplay issues. Gamers can be on point, but not always that on point. Their purpose is not only for gamers to actually assist in the development of the game, but as a way to promote the game. In recent years, the only example of a legitimate beta on a mainstream title, excluding early access games, was Halo 5's beta, as it lasted 3 weeks and appeared close to a year before launch. 343's definitely made big changes based on the beta. They've changed some of the maps. Otherwise, it's probably a demo in other cases, and a demo's purpose is to put the game's best foot forward to incentivize a purchase. Now let's look at the Rainbow Six Siege beta. How many people do you believe will now buy this game because of the beta? It's a confirmed day one purchase. I'm thinking not many. However, how many people do you think will not buy the game based on the beta? My guess, a hell of a lot more if the reactions online are any indication. I personally think that the success of the Destiny beta has warped the minds of developers in the same way that the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has warped the minds of writers. That being, they assume they can simply replicate the results by mere imitation. I believe the beta for this game serves as a prime example that a beta for a game is not necessarily going to guarantee higher sales, because if you fuck it up and people don't like the game, you're done, you can't win them back. Rainbow Six Siege is already in a bad position. The anticipation for this game died hard, in the same way that anticipation for The Division has dwindled. It's releasing in December, well after a flock of major AAA releases, but not so late after them that it's being released in a different time period. It's not like it's releasing in February or March. This game will still have to compete with the likes of Fallout 4, Halo 5, Call of Duty, as well as other December releases like Just Cause 3, a game we know is going to be good. And when people don't exactly have the expendable income to buy every major release, they're going to start making choices. If the experience with the beta was poor, that's probably going to sway them. It's not like they're missing out on much when the holiday season is so crowded with major releases from venerated franchise and from tons of shooters. A game like Fallout 4 is a safe bet. A lot of people will consider Call of Duty a safe bet. Rainbow Six Siege isn't, especially when so many people are just done with the game after this beta. Unfairly? Maybe, but it's their choice, it's their money, their call. In a strange way, I feel a bit bad for the developers of the game. It's not as though they were out to make a piece of crap, and we don't know if the game is actually going to be bad when it comes out. But everybody can admit that they didn't put their best foot forward with this beta, and frankly, I think the game would have done a lot better without it. And this proves that a beta is a double-edged sword. Pull it off, and your game sells like hotcakes. Fail, and your game becomes about as desirable as hepatitis C.